of our viewers. Yeah, hi guys. Yeah.
Yes, yes, you're right that we have had many talks that
Thank
have not been recorded. So
yeah,
it's good to do one a
yeah,
recorded call again.
yeah, we have come
Uh,
away.
well, what we were talking about was a quality of our language, the nature of how we see things as nouns,
Mm,
to where in fact there's really not much there.
mhm,
And an example of that is the mind. When people talk about that they've got a mind, they really don't. It's
mhm,
not a mind. That's a conceptualization of
mhm,
what's really there is a process,
mm. I see.
just
Right.
a process. We call it mental process, and we're much more accurate.
Mhm,
But a truly accurate way of saying it would be just merely functions of the brain. And
mhm,
as the brain goes through its functions, the mind then is created as part of the process.
mhm,
And then the humans, when we start talking about it, then we put it into this language that we have as a language of nouns.
mhm.
And so instead of seeing it as process or a verb, a happening, a mentaling, instead we say it's a mind.
Oh, I see. I see. Mhm.
But there is no mind there, but there is a whole lot of mentaling going on.
Oh, so it's really mentalic, right? Like the process of So what we're talking about is the difference between like yeah, like the process of labeling it as the mind. I mean, that's what's happening, right? Like really, what's happening is there's a process labeling the thing, labeling the process as a mind, but then we actually mistake the labeling as yeah, that there's actually like something there. I see.
Exactly.
Hmm.
So people make then a second mistake,
Hmm.
my mind.
I see.
And then that leads to a third mistake,
Hmm.
me.
I see. I see.
To where me is nothing but a mental process. It's a brain function with this particular piece of
Hmm.
hardware.
Hmm. Hmm. I see.
And it does its functions. It goes through its processes and
Hmm.
out pumps the noun me.
Oh, okay. So, yo, I was about to I was actually about to ask a follow-up question, about like, what about this shirt here? But I think, that was a process of seeing some blue thing and then labeling it as a this is a shirt or something. I see. I see. So,
But the real reality that you could do with our language is just hold
mhm,
it, and
mhm.
say this.
Oh, I see, I see. I see. But wouldn't this also be a conceptualization? Because technically, like say,
That's what I said. With the limits of our language, everything is a conceptualization.
I see. So like, then my next question is, because we use this language 24/7, right? Like, doesn't that mean that like, how exactly do we deprogram ourselves from? I mean, of course, it's convenient, right? Because you need, at least for me, like stuck over here, we have to use conventional language to get our point across sometimes to get things done. Now my question is like, then doesn't that mean that is it? But I mean, at times it's beneficial to be able to deprogram yourself from something like this, right? I mean, if you keep thinking like, oh, my car or something, or my this, and you lose it, then you feel bad because you lost your thing, or
Hmm.
whatever it is. So at those moments, it's probably important to, I guess, like, so my guess is like to use mindfulness to understand, yes, remember that it's not really like a thing, like, and it's fine. Right.
Uh huh.
I see.
Well, there are stages of things, just
Mhm.
like Elizabeth Kubler Ross pointed out the stages of uh, uh, the mental processes over time of death and dying. That same thing happens with physical ownership. For
Mhm.
instance, you mentioned a car.
Mhm.
And so and we're looking now at it in the sense of relinquishment or letting go. So
Mhm.
one of the stages of letting go is, oh, I live in New York and I don't need the car. That's
Exactly.
the first stage of
Yeah.
letting go. The second stage of letting go is actually then putting out an advertisement to
Hmm.
sell the car. I'm actually going to sell it.
Oh, I see.
That's another level of letting go.
Hmm.
And then a buyer comes and
Hmm.
you start to haggle, and that's another letting go. And then you decide on a price, and that's a deeper letting go. And then he takes the car and drives off, and you see it go.
I see.
And that's when the big let go ought to happen, but
Hmm.
it doesn't. And
Oh,
so people will remember that car and still cling to it.
I see. I see.
And they're
Right.
not really letting it go, even though the car drove off.
Right. Even though the car was gone. Right.
Even
Exactly.
though it's gone, we still kind of hang on to it.
Uh,
And sometimes we do it in the sense of calling that reminiscing.
I see. I see.
And
Gotcha.
when we reminisce, it was my car.
Right. And then you either feel good
But
or
but selling it proved that it was not. It didn't belong to me.
I see. Gotcha. Gotcha. And this holds for a lot of things, right? Like people, like when they're old, they think back to how they were when they were young, or like what they could do when they were younger, how nice it was. Right? These are all like forms of, yeah, like basically.
That's what gives rise to the mentality of the golden age.
I see.
In
I see.
fact, the only real golden age is this very moment.
I see. Gotcha.
And
Gotcha.
that's the only golden age. All the others is manufactured memories
Mm-hmm.
to let us say cover over the grief of the loss
Mm-hmm.
of what used to be.
Gotcha. Gotcha. Mm-hmm.
And so many people do then begin to live in the past like that.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
But everybody spends far too much past time in the past. Like the guy who comes home and, wow, I had a hard day at work. Yeah, but that was at work. You're home now. Get over it.
Yeah. Exactly. I see. I see.
So
Yeah.
we don't relinquish things. We cling to them. We hold on to them.
Mm-hmm.
Sometimes we hold on to them and cherish them, and other times we hold on to them, but every time we remember them, it gives us great
Mm-hmm.
suffering,
I see.
stark panic.
Star Panic. Right. Right. I guess like a natural, like a question, that So I've probably explained like what I think of it now, and then maybe I can pose a question as well. So like clinging, right? Like for example, every time clinging arises, we want to have sufficient mindfulness to basically recognize it and then stop clinging. But it seems to me that sometimes in some of the writings, or for example, like we were just talking about the pragmatic Dhamma stuff. They talk about once certain points are achieved, then clinging becomes uprooted. It's permanently destroyed. Or in Kudasa's book, I remember at the very end he describes that, at stage 10 it becomes it becomes attenuated or completely uprooted. Now you and I both know that what like because of what happened, clearly that wasn't the case. And so you know and clearly clearly that wasn't the case. And so I'm beginning to like is it this, I mean this is basically why the path is misleading, because it's not terminal, because you every day like it comes up and you have to choose. You have to There has to be some kind of effort, like right effort to or right mindfulness there to say no to the clinging, right? Even for a supposedly very advanced
You're
practitioner.
exactly right.
I
And
see.
in fact, we've had this talk before, and I just gave that same talk just before you called.
Oh,
You're exactly right
I see.
that it's an ongoing thing.
Mhm.
One way of looking at it is like shaving.
Right, 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 right.
Let's say you had a great big heavy beard and now you got to really work really hard and get some shaving skills and all of that, and then the next day it starts to grow back, and so we got to shave again.
Mhm.
Eventually we get so good at shaving that we say, aha, I've gotten it down so well that I don't have to shave anymore.
No, your hair
I
is
don't
still
think
gonna grow.
so.
I mean, you can shave faster, but the hair you still have to shave. Like,
But you still have to shave.
uh,
And you can get over that you have to shave and just kind of enjoy it instead. Okay. And in fact, the mental shaving that needs to be done is even easier. It's just never mind, start again. Let's come back to a state of joy. Let's not stay in that bushy beard growing state. But
Yeah,
let's take a shake. Let's get those hindrances out.
Yeah, that's true. I actually have to shave too. I can actually see. I didn't shave today because it was the holiday, so I can actually feel the pointy.
Well, this is not about those kind of beards. But the analogy is there. Yes, it's going to grow. And that's natural. That is the natural state of mind to jump from one thing to another, just like it is natural for a gazelle to jump around.
Right. It's the natural state of the mind to plan, to anxiety, right? These are, parts of, our evolutionary drives, I would say.
Exactly. Right? These are instinctual things, many of them. And then these instincts were highly refined and reinforced with the society, because the society is based upon instinctual behavior.
I see. Right.
And so everyone has the disease of living in human society. The cure for that disease is to stop living in human society and really be a human.
I see. Right. Yeah, I totally understand what you mean. Yeah.
But you have to remember to keep being human.
Right, you have
because
to remember.
The natural tendency is to go back and be part of the human society again.
Right. Exactly. Yeah. Yeah, because sometimes the mind will backslide. Exactly. If we're being honest here, yeah, I think my the Zen master is actually doing a better job at the Dhamma than I am at times. It's actually quite funny because sometimes I watch for my resentment. Sometimes when he tells me, oh, why don't you go help with this, and then sometimes I can immediately it's like an old habit that fires. It's like I was just saying, it's for example, today, I was like, yeah, why don't you do it then? I was like, oh, that's resentment right there. And I was quite surprised that, like I've mentioned a couple of times before, that after a couple of minutes, I apologize and everything's fine. I was like, wow, he's better at the Dhamma than I am. I was like, oh wow. So I was like, I guess that's a reason why we call him the Zen master. So it's a good reminder for practice, I would say. Yeah.
Yes, I very much appreciate that. He had a rough spot when he was under so much pressure from the family, but now that pressure is not there, and so now he can jump right back.
That's
better. Great.
Yeah. I mean, definitely, during this week, I'll probably have him speak to you again. But I think he was showering before, so it's late for him. So he sleeps a little earlier than I am, considering he's a little older. But yeah, I have to have him report here as well, because I think he did a really good. I think he's doing a pretty good job, actually.
Well, it's a good point to look at that resentment,
right?
Because it comes up in various, let us say, context. And in fact, the first context that we were talking about is thinking that we've gotten so far in the Dhamma that I don't have to work at it anymore, and then a bunch of crap comes up, and we resent that all of this work on the Dhamma that I've done, and here all of this crap is again.
Exactly.
And in a way, it's exactly the way that you're dealing with Zen Master.
Exactly.
It's the same thing. Is that, hey, I expected you to be over that, and you're
right. Exactly. Or it's times where in the past you would think yeah, I used to be able to sit for 1 hour. Why am I saying getting tired at 40 minutes or things like that? And definitely these are just different ways for resentment to come up. I think it is. So the formal practice, for me, this week has been pretty fun because I've been trying the thing where you try to sleep, well, not sleep, but in the sleeping pose, to do the meditation. So I like it a lot better than sometimes sitting, because then my lower back doesn't have to the muscles there don't have to tense up, because I had the thing with with I fell. Although one thing is that is fun to look at is after a while, because of the way your legs are stacked, there's like sweat, like your thighs get sweaty. So you're just like, ooh, like that's kind of nice to look at. Or, like after a while, you have to remember to, like, at least for me, like switch a little bit before the muscles get like too sore. Then I'll like
Yes.
switch over to the other side, like mindfully. But it's been pretty fun. There's not really anything out of the ordinary, except sometimes the mind gets like really like, it will turn like somebody turned on the lights, like that's basically how I can describe it. Briefly, right? Like somebody turned on the lights, so the mind gets like really bright, which is great, because I think in the sleeping posture, I think it's easier for me to take like a deeper breath. So it's always nice to play around with. I guess once my muscles aren't that sore again, I'll keep doing the quick breathing. So right now I do like the second style, which is, and then I just let it out like really slowly, like like that. And then once, like my other, like that lower back gets a little better, I can do the pumping. But sometimes it kind of gets like sore really easily if I do like too long, because I think it's still trying to recover a little bit. But other than that, the informal practice is always fun, because we have like a lot of little like tools, like reminders here and there, right? I remember when we stand, to enjoy the standing instead of just standing and immediately getting into some posture, and the flip side, when I sit, to also enjoy the sitting. And then also, the cold air after stepping out of the shower. All that stuff is like reminders to come back to the present. So
Yes.
a lot of
Excellent.
stuff. So there's a whole lot of stuff, which are reminders to practice. Yeah.
Well, Ashley just mentioned about
Mm.
being able to get into a state like that, but then wanting it to improve or get better.
Okay.
And so he's bringing dissatisfaction to his satisfaction. Now, most students practice the other way, in the sense of, I've got all of this dissatisfaction, but I'll somehow put up with it. That's life. And many of them even practice meditation like that.
Oh,
But
to
once
use.
we get the mind free from hindrances, one of the hindrances is wanting even more.
Oh, I see. I see.
That we are not satisfied with our satisfaction. We want more satisfaction.
Right. Right.
But that leads then to the story of what I call Pilgrim's Progress. You've no doubt heard. I think
I've never heard of.
you never heard of Pilgrim. It's a very, very famous book out of the Middle Ages.
I've never heard. Yeah.
Very philosophical, part of the Catholic Church's liturgy and all of that. So the term Pilgrim's Progress, the pilgrim is the one who moves. He's on a journey. He's going to a holy place.
Mm-hmm.
And so the story is that when the pilgrim stops making progress, only then can he be a Buddha.
Okay. I see.
That he's on the journey. Even so, the real story then about the real pilgrim is that he's on his journey to the holy place, the holy site. So what does he do when he gets to the holy site? Does he plan a journey to the next holy site? Does he set off to the next holy site and stay a pilgrim, going from one holy site to the next? Or when he gets to the holy place, does he not sit down, relax? He's gotten his destination. This is where I was headed. This is where I am. Let me be satisfied here.
I see.
Now, in this regard, I'm using the word holy place intentionally because of making the transition from the Christian view of pilgrim making a progress going to a holy site into your holy site is when you feel whole.
I see.
When you get to that holy place, that means that you're now complete. You're whole. You're in the Dhamma. You're part of the Dhammakai, or that you're sitting in the lap of God, or that God is within you and without, or that you're at one-ment, or that you're one with the universe, or that you finally arrived at home. You hear all of these different cliches or actually concepts, but they're all pointing back to this one thing, and that is being in a state of complete satisfaction. This is it. We have arrived at that holy place.
I see. Yeah. Wow. Okay.
And all we have to do is to remember that we're in that holy place.
I see.
Take a deep breath, relax, and start enjoying that we're in paradise.
Gotcha.
Because it's our judging mind that keeps throwing us out of paradise. And one of the judgments that we'll have is this is paradise, but it ain't good enough. I want a better paradise.
Oh, I see. Right. So, I guess this is so I haven't watched like say episode 20 of your talk yet, but one of the questions that I then have is so I understand that the Superman Day Dhamma, right, is basically what we talked about, like simple satisfaction, but I'm just curious now, because in this framework we don't really talk about say like morals, for example, right? You could have a robber who just like robs a bank and he's completely satisfied at that moment, right? Like there's I mean again, like if we talk about this, then we talk about good and evil, right? Like then it talks about
Okay.
I mean, but there's not really like a as we've discussed previously, right? Like
Okay, well, you've called him a robber. You've taken a process, turned it into a noun. So now let's look at that. Is this process going to happen again, or is he truly satisfied? Did he take enough the first time?
Yeah, let's say that he takes like 50 million, and that's enough for him to buy his tiny little island, buy a tiny little farm, and he's done. Like he's left the U.S., he's burned his passport or something, and he's never gone back, and he's pretty satisfied that he can live off his potatoes, for the rest of his life.
Okay, so now let's look at for a moment of who he stole the 50 million from. He's not going to go steal $1 from 50 million people. That's not the point. Oh no, you want a one-time shot, so you're going after the guy who's got the big bucks. Well, where did that guy get all of that big bucks? Did he not steal them too?
Right.
And when he stole it from another wealthy dude who probably stole his start too. So it's the same money that keeps stolen around, and this guy got his, and he left that circle.
Gotcha.
And so I would congratulate him, but more than likely he's going to become dissatisfied and want to do it again, just like a repeat of a movie. I mean, this is almost a movie scene that you're putting, but for that kind of movie, there's got to be a sequel.
How else are they gonna rob us of our money, right? Like
yeah, right. You got to go do another 50 million or so.
Right.
All right, so that meant that there was really no satisfaction.
I see.
But now let's look at it this way. And this is actually an interesting point. And that is that the supramundane Dhamma has in fact been kept secret solely, partially, not solely, but partially for the reason of preventing people from getting the wrong view.
I see.
And the wrong view is I can go take and steal all the money that I want and I won't have to suffer for it.
Right, because they don't understand that, they probably will want to do it again.
Fine.
Will lead to more.
Karma is like that. In other words, what they're saying is that for this 50 million, I'm going to be able to suspend karma. That action does not have a reaction.
Right.
But so that's part of the wisdom, is to understand, oh no, we live in a cause-effect world. If I do something like that, there's going to be a whole lot of repercussions. Right. For one thing, he's got to go by an island. He can't stay at home. The cops are going to catch him.
Right. I see. Right.
So now he's lost all of his family and all of his friends. So which is more important, his family and friends or his money?
Right,
And what
right,
if,
exactly.
and what if the next robber comes by and starts to rob him? How is he going to feel about that?
Exactly. Yeah, yeah, yeah.
So we've got this whole thing about wrong view, and that the Dhamma has been held secret
Mm-hmm.
for such a long time, partially because of that. Because if people get this idea that, oh, I can go and be successful and happy, then
Mm-hmm.
I can do that while being bad
Mm-hmm.
or breaking it. But the reality of the situation is when the student is well taught and we come to a state of satisfaction,
Mm-hmm.
that means that we've come to that state of wholeness, or that we've come to a state of what the Buddha talks the unification of mind.
Mm-hmm.
Then we are satisfied and we don't go around harming people or robbing or killing or doing things like that,
Right.
or even to the point of doing a lot of gossip,
I see.
because we're satisfied with our life.
I see. Right. Right.
Okay. So that's when it becomes right noble view. This is part of the reason why kids and students and the beginners are started off with ordinary right view.
Mm-hmm.
And the ordinary right view is that you will do good things and you will get good results. And if you do bad things, you will get bad results.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
From that comes, and that will always happen.
Mm-hmm.
And from that comes the belief in rebirth and reincarnation.
Ah,
And from that comes lack of responsibility. That, oh, I'm not responsible. It's the karma machine that did it to me.
right. Because I remember there are some discussions where there are studies done that like practicing meditation strengthens the ability of an individual to detach from their emotions, and you can conceive that you can have people who have perfected this ability, but they can use it basically as a defense mechanism when doing a lot of bad things. Right? They go outside and do some bad things, then they sit down, and then because they're skilled in detaching from their emotions, they can basically the guilt or the remorse or anything like that, they could just conceivably work through it. You could have somebody who would, by all accounts, be a near, perfect, devil with like a person with a wrong view, like going around saying, "Yep, I'm
That
satisfied.
really
This is
never
fine."
happens. That really never happens. Oh, no. In fact,
Mm-hmm.
look at Trump
Mm-hmm.
as an example of that.
Mm-hmm.
And then you recognize, oh, no, his narcissism also plays against him.
Oh, I see.
Because, in fact, he is not detached from his emotions. He can't stand it when someone takes the center stage.
Right, right, right. I see.
Okay, so
Mm-hmm.
he is a bundle of nerves and a bundle of suffering,
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
and so
Oh,
that will happen with anyone who thinks that they're detached from their emotions. They're just simply in a state of denial, but they're still
uh,
in a state
uh,
of suffering.
I see. I see.
They're
Mm-hmm.
just lost in it. Okay, and they get that because they get the wrong view that um, that they can get away with it.
Mm-hmm.
That's the wrong view, is that I can get away with it.
I see. I see. Right.
But
That's the wrong view. Right. Eventually,
yeah,
going to get.
hmm
Mm-hmm.
and so that's the wrong view. The right view is, no, I can't get away with it,
Mm-hmm.
but that I can hope.
Oh, I see. Right. Right.
And then the right noble view is, let me get away with from it, so that I don't have to want to get away from it or
I
get
see.
away with it.
Or actually, so that I don't actually want to even do it. That I
I
don't
don't
actually
even
want.
want to do it, right. I don't have to worry about getting
Uh,
away with it because I don't care about it anymore.
oh, I understand now. Right, because somebody with right view actually would, right, because we were talking about this question under the hypothetical assumption that you would have somebody doing all these things, but in fact the answer is if you were actually truly satisfied, you wouldn't really want to do these things in the first place. I see.
Precisely. And
Uh,
so that's part of the reason then why the Dhamma has been hidden away,
mm-hmm,
is because teaching, for instance,
mm-hmm,
there's a very important story that happened around the millennia, about 500 years after the time of the Buddha. It was between Milinda the king and Nagarjuna the monk, to where the Nagarjuna knew that he had to teach the king the right way, because if he taught him the wrong way, it would give the permission Milinda to go and savage and pillage and be a bad king, because he can get away with it all.
Oh, right, right. So I think this is similar to, I remember I was reading, a book about, some of the Zen koans, and, there was an explanation saying that, people often misinterpret, when the master says mind is Buddha, and then they go around thinking that, the ordinary, conditioned mind with the wants, desires is the way to go. Like, just let everything, like your desires, yep, that's fine, let it rip, go ahead. And they think that that's the way that that you should go about living. And so
Right.
I understand the distinction now. Right, right. It's
Yes,
not so.
that's wrong view.
Oh,
Exactly.
okay, got it, got it, got it, got it, got it. I see.
But for the student who is really making progress, you do want to tell them they are already the Buddha,
Oh, I see.
so that they'll stop wanting to be a Buddha and just
Oh,
be
oh,
one.
oh, oh, I see, I see, I see, I see, I see, I see. Hmm. Wow. Okay. Because I'm trying to frame this in like the previous understanding. Remember, we talked about things like central desire, right? Things that were easy to do. I guess my understanding is, yeah, like those are easy to do. You don't have to do a lot to get them, and so yeah, why not? But for things where it becomes hard, or you have to go through like things like stealing, lying, cheating, things like that, right? I understand now. Oh, okay, got it, got it. Yeah, yeah. I see. Oh, so it is. It is. You're right. So I see your point, because it is easy to think. Yeah, if as long as I can go around being satisfied doing whatever, I'll be good. So.
Where in fact, that's a lie they're telling, because they think that they're satisfied. But if they still want to steal or want to do harm, then they're not satisfied. And so they're lying to themselves about it. And the
Oh.
whole quality is for us to start to wake up to the fact that we are a dirt bag full of wants and desires and dissatisfactions, and being
Whoa.
able to be satisfied and then be dissatisfied with that.
Now my next question then is,
Mhm.
is there? I mean, to the person, like, I guess what I'm getting at is the Dunning-Kruger effect, which is, to someone who's deluded, right, that thinks that they're satisfied, right? To them, is there actually a difference between them feeling truly satisfied versus them thinking that they are satisfied? Now, obviously, to somebody else, they can, somebody else, like a third party, can see, yeah, like if they keep doing this, like, they're eventually going to screw themselves over. Like, for example, you keep stealing, like if somebody keep, first couple of times, like they steal, they get their bread or something from the grocery store. When they eat their bread, they're like, yeah, this is great. I'm satisfied. Somebody else on the other side of the street will see, yeah, they're gonna get like caught eventually. But to them, like they like, I guess, like, is there such a thing as deluded, like deluded satisfaction versus like true? Yeah.
That Dunning-Kruger effect can be seen in many different ways. It can be seen in the very simple place that you're talking about.
Mm.
But here's an example then with that. And that is that if you start pointing out
Mm.
some things to them
Mm-hmm.
that they don't want to know, then they will deny it. They do not want to look at what's going on in reality.
Oh, I see. I see.
And so um, they become willfully ignorant,
Mm-hmm.
and they will disagree with the facts,
I see.
and then they become kind of satisfied with the lies, because they like the lies and they don't like the facts.
Oh, I see. I see.
And so the Dunning-Kruger, they talk about it in one sense of that we do not know what we do not know.
Mm-hmm. Right. Exactly. Exactly.
And if we think we know when we do not know, then that's a sure case that we're probably not going to know
Mm-hmm.
because we think we already know.
Oh.
So one of the cliches would be then there are none so blind as
Mm-hmm.
those who refuse to see.
I see. Mm-hmm.
Now you can see that in politics on both sides.
Mm-hmm.
But one of them is that the Christians are beginning to wake up
Mm-hmm.
to the fact that not only is Donald Trump a sinner, he's also a criminal, but he's not just a sinner and a criminal who gets them what they want, that he's actually harmful for them. And they're slowly waking up to that. But
Mm-hmm.
in the beginning, that you would tell them that, wait a minute, he is a sinner. He does not live up to the standards that you have been keeping other presidents up for.
Mm-hmm.
And they will say, yes, but he's
Mm-hmm.
going to give us what we want.
Mm-hmm.
And so, therefore, it's okay for the Christians to vote for a sinner.
I see. I see.
And then they get stuck into that mentality, and then they say it's okay for us to continue to vote
Mm-hmm.
this way because we do not want to recognize that we wrongly voted for a sinner, that we wasted our vote in the first place.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And so to change our vote means that we actually have to understand that we did wake up, which actually does have the admission that we were wrong in the first place.
Right.
And
Exactly.
people don't want to be wrong. They don't like the feeling of, wow, did I screw up when I voted for him?
Oh, I see. I see.
And so that's why people become willfully blind.
Mm-hmm. I see.
And so it's really difficult
Mm-hmm.
for then the average person who is normally caught into that
Right.
to then be introduced to the supramundane Dhamma, because it generally points out that, hey, almost everything we've been doing our whole lives is a mess. That my
Right.
life is a mess, and I don't want to see it as a mess. I want to see it as successful, where in fact inside, deep inside, I know that it's not, that it's actually a mess.
Oh, I see. I see. Hmm. I see. Yeah,
So
because.
some people will live in a messy house, but they don't think it's messy.
Mm-hmm. Exactly. Exactly. Oh. Right, because I feel like, yeah, this is probably pretty important because sometimes wrong view can be very subtle, right? Because
Yes.
you don't know that the thing that you're involved in is wrong view, then you might be misled into thinking that, oh yeah, yeah, like things are perfectly fine, right? I see, I see. Mm-hmm.
And so this is the wrong view that leaves chaos, it leaves the criminals. And
Mm-hmm.
so the right view is to say, hey, you got to watch out. You better watch out. You better not cry. You better not pout. I'm telling you why. Santa Claus is coming, and he sees you when you're sleeping. He sees you when you're awake. He knows when you've been bad or good.
Mm-hmm.
So
Mm-hmm.
you better toe the line, buddy.
I see.
And so that's one's right view.
Mm-hmm.
And that right view is what's been able to give humanity a society to live in that's
Mm-hmm.
not 100% chaos. If
Mm-hmm.
everybody thought that they could get away with anything every time, then we
Mm-hmm.
wouldn't even have a society. We would just be out killing each other.
Right, 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 right. Mm-hmm.
And that's what the Christians are afraid of. They're afraid of, if you give up ordinary right view,
Mm-hmm.
then there will be no more morality and everybody will fall into wrong view, and then we'll have nothing but chaos and danger.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
They don't understand that there is a higher view, a noble view, a
Mm-hmm.
view that transcends that, both of that. Because you see, both wrong view and ordinary right view are based in desire and want.
Mm-hmm. I
And so
see.
while wrong view winds up in disaster,
Mm-hmm.
ordinary right view winds up in clinging. It winds up in suffering. It doesn't end suffering.
Right, because you want that sweet good karma. You want that, like that. I'm a good boy. Like basically, you wanna I see.
Yes. I can feel a bit good about myself while I feel bad. So they become satisfied with being dissatisfied.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, I mean, this is, I think, this is also something for me to also, pay more attention to because, it seems to me that, yeah, like after we go through several examples, yeah, wrong view is definitely subtle. Wrong view versus noble right view because I can give you several examples from my own personal experience. For example, right now, I'm not in a hurry at all, to find a girlfriend, for example. But that doesn't mean, sometimes if I go to those like networking events, I run into a couple girls that are also working in CS. We chat, obviously I know, sometimes some flirty jokes like we go back and forth, but like I'm not, like I'll be very honest, like like I'm not in any of a rush, especially after the whole trip to Japan. I'm just like I very much enjoy personal freedom. But at those times, is it like you be careful? Like what I'm wary of now is then like you might slip into wrong view. You can say, yeah, like it's pretty easy. So yeah, why don't we just like flirt a couple, like flirt for 10, 15 minutes and then, have some fun, laugh, and then we'll be on our way. So is that, like wrong view? Like now I'm beginning to.
But if you do that and laugh and have joy, eat, drink, and to marry, for tomorrow you may die, and then that's the end of it.
Yeah, that's the end of it. And
Then then
goodbye.
I don't see a lot of wrong view, nor do I see a lot of wrong harm. However, if you talk up a girl, chat her up, get her all hot and horny and everything, and then you don't do it with her, she's going to be pissed.
So it seems like like some.
But yet, that's the game that girls play. They're taught that.
I see.
They're taught that hard to get.
I see. Because like what I'm trying to get at is like some litmus test for me to keep in mind to prevent myself from slipping into obviously it would be great if you were like here with me like 24/7 telling me like that looks like you're slipping in the wrong view, but like some litmus test would be that I'm thinking about is does it like whatever you're doing, does it lead to future clinging, or like hey like what about the next time, or does it make you feel bad if you think like, yep, if I don't do it next time, then I'm gonna feel bad. Like that's probably like something that's wrong view. Or does it cause suffering to other people, right? Like for example, like the example that you just suggested, right? Like if you fully you go the whole night and try to manipulate them and think getting all worked up, and then at the end you're just like, nope, it's time for me to go home. Like on purpose, or you try to manipulate them.
You're playing the game of Cinderella.
Right. So.
It's midnight. I gotta go. Bye bye.
Yeah, like that kind of stuff is wrong view because you're causing like suffering to other people, like to other people. So I would say like maybe like these two things are good litmus tests for when we're slipping into wrong view. I would say because like definitely this stuff is I'm certain that like over the course of a day, if I don't like pay attention to this stuff, I'll probably slip into wrong view all the time. Like resentment, that's wrong view, like over there. Right? Seriously.
I just thought of something here about what's the problem with that story of Cinderella, and that is that remember on the way of running out of the palace, the reason that she did is because the stroke of midnight, and then all the magic disappears. So that the pumpkin is no longer a coach, it's becoming a pumpkin. Yeah. And the horses have to become mice again.
Right.
But why did that slipper, the glass slipper, the evidence, why did that not disappear also? Why was the young prince able to keep that slipper and carry it around to see if the girl's foot would fit it?
Wait, wait, yeah, right. It's like a cruel joke. Cruel joke. Yeah. Like, wait, why?
Right. What a cruel joke that is. They play on the children. That story of Cinderella.
Oh, right, exactly.
Why can't she stay at the palace, turn into the Cinderella that she actually is, let the prince recognize that he has fallen in love with her, and they live happily ever after, because now that she's the king or the prince is in love with her, she doesn't need pumpkins and rats.
Right, exactly. I see. Yeah. yeah, like basically, right? Like Cinderella.
And so, in a way, that Cinderella story is not only magical, but it's wrong view.
Oh, yeah, right, exactly. I mean, and she basically, I mean, put on a show and lied to the prince. That's basically what happened, right? Got him hooked, and then, like then show her, like basically, what was that? Like bait and switch. That's the word
Bait
that
and
I.
switch, exactly.
Like, I mean, if we're being honest here, right? That's what happened.
And so, in that regard, when
Hmm.
you go eat, drink, and be merry with the girls, don't play that game of Cinderella.
Right. Don't play that game. Just eat, drink, be happy. That's the end of it. Yeah. I mean, like, goodbye. See you never. Yeah, like that's basically it. I see. Right.
Or if they want your phone number,
Hmm. No thanks. No.
but well, no, go ahead and give them the phone number. You can eat, drink, and be merry again. The whole point that I'm making is turning things upside down. That you don't ask for hers, but if she asks for yours, go ahead and give it to her.
Right. I mean, it doesn't have to be romantic. Honestly, make a new friend.
Does not.
Yeah,
Exactly.
man.
Exactly.
Exactly. I see exactly what you mean. I see. Yeah. I guess, like, yeah, don't play the game. Basically, like, I mean, I'm certainly not interested. It's fun to be. It's nice. I mean, like I said, like traveling alone in Japan, lugging all that stuff. That was already a lot. Like, I'm pretty sure I don't want two people lugging like two like two luggage. Yeah, no thanks.
Exactly. But
Oh,
your joy will
mhm.
be attractive.
I see.
It actually is that's part of the reason why people will talk on the internet is because the joy is attractive.
I see. I see. Yeah. So then I kind of, I mean, even in those cases, yeah, I think where mindfulness will come in, I think, yeah, like before you slip in the wrong view, there's got to be some kind of desire or clinging involved, right? Because it's kind of be like, oh, hey, yeah, like why don't we do this, or like why don't we do that, right? Like I think before the you actually get fully thrown into the heat of it, right? There's got to be some kind of desire, some kind of clinging that says, hey, why don't we go and check it out, or like, hey, why don't we do
Right.
this, do that, right? I see.
So now you can see that how it would be dangerous to teach the noble Dhamma
Hmm.
to one who is hot, one
Ah,
who is full of desire, because the supermundane Dhamma, wrongly taken from
mhm.
the wrong end, basically brings on that position of I can get away with anything.
Right, and it actually entrenches them even further in whatever they were doing before. I see.
Ah, power corrupts. If I can get away with anything, then that's power,
I
and
see.
power corrupts.
I see.
A good example then is Donald Trump, because he's been basically he's in the position I can do anything. I'm the
Right.
president. I've
Yeah.
got that second
Presidential
paragraph,
privilege.
whatever.
Executive
Yeah,
privilege. Yeah.
and yet look how miserable he is.
Oh
That
yeah.
he can't get away with telling the truth. He's got to lie.
Exactly.
And
Right.
now, and when people confront him with the lies, he feels bad.
And then he
And so
posts
he
pictures.
gets into very heavy competition. Believe me, he is not a happy camper.
Yeah. I see. Ah. I see. I see. Mhm. Mhm.
He is not free from suffering while he's causing a lot of suffering, and a lot of people are in denial
Mhm.
about all the suffering that he is causing.
Right.
Those that have real compassion and understand through compassion about taking care of others the way that you'd think with Christians, then the
Mm.
Christians should be the ones who are the most against the immigration policies.
Yeah.
And yet they're the ones who support it. This is only possible because they're in denial.
They're in denial. Right. The parts of the Bible that suit them, and then, like, say, hey, and then conveniently forget about the rest, where you take care of the poor people and you self, and they completely like forget about that. Yep. Exactly.
Mm-hmm. And so the noble view then is to take a higher viewpoint that we're not concerned with just the elimination of our own suffering,
Mm-hmm.
but we're concerned then with the elimination of the suffering. The way that the Buddha taught it was for the benefit, we teach the Dhamma for the benefit and the well-being of future generations. Now that's the long view.
That's the long. I mean, that's kind of like the Mahayana view, right? That we teach to liberate like other people as well, right? Like the difference between the Theravada and the Mahayana is that
Different way of saying it, but within the Theravada, they have the quality of the duty to the Dhamma.
I see.
I have gotten personally so much out of the Dhamma that I can't help but spread it. It's almost like a bucket that now is overflowing.
Oh, I see now.
I'm completely full of it, and it's got to be spread.
Oh, I see. Right. Because it's good stuff. It works.
So it's such good stuff. So when Ajahn Po instructs me to go on the internet to do the teaching of the Dhamma, it's not just, oh, okay, I'll do it, but it's yes, sir, right on. That's a good idea.
Oh, gotcha. I see.
But now, if there's a difference, the difference would be that within the Mahayana, they talk about it is that the Bodhisattva stands at the gate and doesn't go fully into the being the Buddha.
I see.
But exactly the same thing happens within Theravada, that arahats actually don't make very good teachers because they don't care enough about the students. But there is this sweet spot of the nobility.
I see.
And most people are in, when they become noble, they generally spend years being noble.
Years.
But even at years being noble without finally going to the point of arahat.
I see.
That we all kind of linger because we all have a marvelous story to tell.
Right. Exactly. Oh, I see. Huh. Wow.
So I don't see any difference between the Mahayana and the Theravada. It's just a matter of how you tell the story.
Right. The matter of like vocabulary. I see. Gotcha. I see. Yeah, so to summarize, it seems like, this talk about wrong view is really what we've been doing all along, which is to be careful about clinging, right? Be careful, really watching out for desire and clinging. I guess that's really what it boils down to, I would say. Yeah, I see. Yeah,
excellent.
Because it's like, I gotta be like a little wary of this because I think it's very easy to. I mean, the dangerous part is the easy one is you get into wrong view and then you get burned because then you know in retrospect that it's wrong view. But the hard part is the hard one is if you're in wrong view but you think it's right view, you think it's fine when it's not. That's really the one that I am wary of. Yeah.
Okay.
I see.
So wake up, wakey. Start watching. That's where sati comes in. What is actually the mind doing? Is this a hindrance or is this the good stuff?
Or is it the good stuff? Exactly. Gotcha. Yeah. So I guess that's that's the topic for for this week's practice, which is keep a closer eye out, for all this stuff. Is it really the good stuff?
Excellent, Willie. Excellent. Yes, this is a good time to stop. I really have enjoyed our time together.
Thank you.
And this has been good.
Yeah, like this week again. Yeah, I'll probably bring the Zen Master along too next time. Okay.
Okay, yeah, I'd love to see him. See you.
Yeah, thank you. Yeah. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.